takes a moment to process. As soon as we get it going, I'll let you guys know. You're going to get a message that will let you know we're streaming live.
Got it. I think we all received that. And at this point, I guess we can call the meeting to order. UNNC Parks Committee meeting. Out of 40 people I invited, you're looking at us. We're hoping that we can get more people interested. But welcome and thank you for coming. We're excited about having everyone here. And thanks, Teresa, sharing our agenda. And are you going to do that first part?
Yeah, I'm just going to go over the formalities that we are continuing to hold our meetings virtually since the governor has declared a state of emergency, and the regulation AB 361 says that we have to continue holding these meetings virtually. And just a quick review of the agenda, welcome, public comments, updates from Parks and Rec staff. We're going to work on the mission statement and some goals for this next fiscal year.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome, Don.
Okay, what we'd like to do is definitely have an opportunity at this point is to welcome everyone and to see if there are any public comments. People have 3 to 5 minutes to want to share something that's not on the agenda. Anybody have something they want to share? Well, I just want to thank everybody who attended our event in the park, definitely park related, and the opportunity to have more support for us, and to all the officers that came. Mahia is now back in the car, and if you have concerns or needs, you definitely follow up. Monica, did anyone come out about the graffiti also?
Yes, it was removed.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And outside of that, that's all I wanted to say. Just thank you for coming. Thank you for participating, everyone, and all the help that was given. Anyone else?
I think David.
Yeah, I think we should thank the people for the
Oh, the pastries?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great idea, even though they're not here. Vanek and his wife, Christelle Ekliabon, I think I'm pronouncing their last name correctly. They have a bakery, but we were going to put up signage, but he asked us not to put up any signage. But yes, they were very generous with their donation of the pastries, and all of the people who donated. I mean, I know that the Avenues contracted with the coffee vendor and the hot dogs, but the hot dog guy was really nice. And it was a really, really nice event. So yes.
So can we just drop them a little thank you note, either a card or a letter?
Oh yeah, we definitely will.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't name the bakery if that's not what he wants, but we can and go on next door and everywhere else and post a thank you for them, one of our community members, and just put it like that.
And then I would also like to thank for all the donations for the school supplies. So thanks for that.
Right.
Much appreciated.
Yes.
I believe it's folks in here. So thank you.
Yeah. So we'll put it out. A big thank you to all the people, and people will know, even the ones that didn't come, what happened and how. As a group, we are grateful to those people who did participate in that type of way. So that's helpful. Jacqueline, your hands up. Jacqueline?
You're on mute.
How can I get onto the reach out list? Because I would have made donation to the school supplies had I known that you were reaching out. So
Monica posted, and I think we also posted earlier on, and we were at the meetings. We talked about it a while back.
Oh, okay.
So that was one of the ways.
So I
I'm not-
really need to join the meeting, stay in touch with the meetings, right? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, that is a big YES.
Okay. Got it.
It would be helpful. I sometimes wonder if the blasts or outreach is reaching people, because people tell me, they don't know what I'm talking about. So that kind of scares me. But there you go. Monica?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I actually have extra supplies, not the backpacks. And then I have mini bags that I already put the extra supplies in. And as I advertise and do guerrilla marketing, whoever I come across, like obviously somebody with kids, will still get supplies. So I'll be distributing in a different way.
Yeah,
So-
that's great.
Distributing supplies as well as promoting South Seas in our programs.
Yes. And we are going to have just plan on having a meeting with upper management with the council office. That's coming up fairly soon. So we definitely we'll discuss that later.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Why don't
All
we
right.
just go into Monica giving us her update?
Yes, good
Okay.
idea. Monica, you're up.
Awesome. All right. So I'm excited about starting the fall program. So having coffee with the cop was a great segue of introducing what we'll be offering. We offer Play LA, Girls Play LA programs. So anything we offer for boys and girls, we have to exclusively offer for girls. So I'm not sure if you are aware of that.
No.
So yeah, this is something that our
Isn't this the
department-
Title IX thing? So if you offer for boys, you have to offer for girls too, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So we will be offering this off the top of my head because I'm at home right now. Zumba, hip hop, ballet. Let's see. The Tiny Tots Academy will be starting in about a week, which includes the enrichment classes, which are Spanish, arts and crafts, movement, which will be a little bit of dance. I'll be resuming my virtual classes for the fall as well. I know I talked about running lean on staff, but I'm very excited. I shared with some folks on Saturday, and he actually came by, a rec assistant who started today.
Oh, good.
Yes. So I say one down and at least 3 or 6 more to go. And that's me asking for the needs of the community. Okay. Let's see what else we're offering. It feels like when I look at the system, we're offering like 12 programs or 12 classes.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Are
ahead.
you blasting your needs out as far as and what is available on the local social media? Or do you need some help with that?
oh, I'm going to reach out to you as well, Donna.
Okay.
I did an email blast earlier today, did some stuff on Nextdoor. Still working on it, but today was kind of focused a little bit on communication because I want to make sure that folks are signing up and also training this new hire,
Oh, good.
getting to know what my expectations are during the interview process, what he is willing and capable of teaching. I do want to get after school programming up and running. I just need solid people. I can have bodies, but I can't have someone calling me every Friday saying they can't show up.
Oh,
And I
no.
don't have coverage. You
Mm.
understand what I'm saying, right?
Of course, you can't run a
So,
program like that.
I'm looking for solid people. So now's a good segue to talk about the positions. I'm looking for a rec assistant, well-rounded, someone who's able to do administrative stuff, so some office work, occasionally watching and monitoring permits. So like, for example, whenever we have someone who rents out the annex or any part of the facility or the park, they can just check in with the person who has the permit. Someone who's available either during the morning or in the afternoon, evening, that can assist with various programs. So anything that's in demand. I know coming on board, you guys asked for nutrition and gardening. I am still working on that, and also stuff on, anyone who could teach with, computers and whatnot. So that's something that's still in the back of my mind. So looking for someone who is skilled and one of those 3 or all 3, if that's possible. some experience with recreation, doing camps. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a rec center. Who works with kids and works well with kids and knows how to adapt. So that's a rec assistant position. Rec instructors solely teaches classes. So same thing, they could be focused on gardening. What I've gotten the last maybe week and a half in terms of calls is music. And I do remember South Seas House being a very music driven facility. So to have, yes, you're aware of this too, right?
Well, the house was originally.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. I know. I
The
think
history
Gavin,
of it. Mhm.
correct. Yes. So I would love to bring music back. Any kind of dance. So not just for kids, but adults.
Hmm.
And then an opportunity for folks to volunteer because it is department driven to bring sports to our centers, South Seas being one of them. So it could be something as a soccer league, having one team, a basketball league, same thing, one team. They can practice on site and then go to our local parks to play. So it could be Hoover Rec Center, Queen Anne, or even Vineyard. So that's another new assignment that's on my plate that's in demand. And you just never know, like maybe there's kids in the area that want to play, they just don't know where to go and how to start, right?
Right, but as far as personnel, do they send you people from downtown, or do you have to advertise? How do you get people to
Okay.
come in?
All right. So in terms of, you're making reference to the whole hiring process, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So since these are union jobs, I have to follow protocol. So I have to fill out certain forms, obviously have my job bulletin. I did revise it from the previous director so that it's more to my liking and based on the needs of the community. There's forms that need to be filled out by or signed off by our current staff declining hours.
Hmm.
Once they say, if they say, oh no, I do want these hours, then that limits me in terms of hiring how many people I want. But as we know, and I think you and I spoke about this some time ago, a lot of employees have multiple jobs.
Yeah,
Right?
they have to during the pandemic, of course.
Correct, and make ends meet. So I'm aware of that. So I need to make sure that the staff signs it. And then I have to review the number of hours they completed within their anniversary date. From there, I have to submit it to personnel, HR, and I believe even my supervisor has to review it. And then it has to be stamped, approved. And then it goes up on our website, LA City Parks, for jobs. I can't just randomly post a job bulletin if it's not in the system. Does that make sense? So if you remember, Donna, when I gave you a job bulletin, you're like, send everything my way. It was very easy to just forward it to you because it was in the system. Everything has an expiration date. Like that job bulletin was only good for, I don't know, March, April. So I was lucky if it was up longer than that.
Yeah.
So I just have to start the process over again. But the good thing is I can be more specific in terms of what I would like, what our needs are on the job bulletin. So I'm not just hiring a random person. They're like, what is this job for? So they'll have an idea in terms of creating the resume.
Yeah, that's good.
So once that's done, then I can post it on our bulletin board. But even at our event this past Saturday, I did create a flyer of the positions and what we're hiring for. So rec assistant, rec instructor, and recruiting volunteers. So if you came by our table, you did receive 2 flyers, one of them explaining openings.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. That should, if it doesn't, I'm concerned that you're not getting enough actual bodies that you need. So that's something hopefully that's going to change.
I hope so too. And I do believe in word of mouth. So like even the last, like, this is talk about today. So I had 2 parents reach out to me asking, hey, what's going on? And then I explained to them and they completely understand. They're short staffed in whatever they do, right? If they, you know, in their field. And so, you know, I'm just getting good ideas and also forwarding information to them like, oh, here's what we're offering right now. And if you know of somebody, let me know. So
we'll try to help with that.
I know I appreciate you guys, and I know it just definitely takes a team, and I'm trying to accept that. Like, I can't not do this all on my own.
No.
I have connections. Utilize that. So yes,
I have a
Okay.
couple of questions,
Go for
just to make sure I understand the process, Monica. So you have, how many staff members do you have right now? Just before the new hire today, how many did you have? How many full-time staff
I know.
people?
Full time, me.
You're the only full-time person.
Yes.
And the other employees that work there are part-time, and the only way you can hire someone else if they say, we don't want any additional hours. Correct?
And yeah, and that's always been the procedure. Yes.
Okay, but I guess I'm wondering if there are part-time people who would like additional hours up to 40 hours, can they not be full-time employees?
There is a process for that. And if you remember in the beginning, when I started hopping on these calls and I was being a huge advocate of creating full-timers, the gentleman that came in today, I did ask him, so what are your goals? So you have to have, so for example, to be second in charge, the position before taking on this director role, you do need a degree, an undergraduate. Okay. That's in our department.
Okay, so
is my staff aware of this? Yes. I would like to think most of them are. If they want full-time hours, I'm here to, mentor, prepare them, everything but walk them to the university. Does that make sense?
Okay, so they need a degree in order to
Yes.
promote to full-time.
I can give you 0 to 35, 36 hours a week. But when you're a part-time employee, you cannot work no more than 1040 a year. And I also have to track that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's more to it than, yeah. So speaking from experience, and this is kind of funny, not funny. I was very fortunate when I was a part-time employee. I was able to explore different facilities on a regular basis. I was set on hours until I started running out. And then when I ran out, I'm being a little funny, hungry, didn't have money because I was spending. And my boss would say, save your money because there'll be periods of time, December, November, the major holidays where, we're closed, no one's going to the park, or we're traveling, right? Where we're short on hours. And then you get to that point where you're cranking hours. So the magic number is 22. If you work 22 hours a week, you're pretty much set year round. But let's just talk about summer camp. Yeah, we were running a smaller camp, but I didn't have enough staff. So they were not complaining. They were cranking hours.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I was very fair with my hours. So if you were lucky, one day you had a day off, and then the following week you were cranking hours. You worked 5 days. One day was a full day. It's a nice check. Okay.
Yeah.
But I totally understand both ends of the side from being full-time and part-time, but yeah, you can't exceed 1040. And once you get close, you have to wait till your anniversary start date to cycle for those hours to renew.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Jacqueline has a question.
Yeah,
Go for it,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Donna, I wasn't finished. I had
Okay,
a
go ahead.
couple of
Go for it.
questions. Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool.
The other thing, Monica,
I'm walking out for a second.
okay. The other thing is about the instructor.
Yes.
So that the recreation instructor will also be a part-time person, correct?
Correct. And I can talk more about that as well.
Yes, because if we're going to start a computer lab or have some kind of STEM program or something specifically with these computers, I would like to see someone who is has majored in that, so go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the beauty of being a rec instructor, and I can always talk about the benefits of being a rec assistant and rec instructor. Rec instructor, you're only teaching classes. Usually it's a specialty class, computers being one of them. So that means you do make a few extra bucks.
Okay.
So when I network and communicate with staff, this is even outside of South Sea's house, and I see a rec assistant only teaching, I will explain to them, I'm like, do you know if you change your title, you change your position, you make a few dollars more, but that means you can't do administrative work because it's all union based, right? There's certain
Okay.
things you can't take payments. Like when I was part-time, I was a rec instructor. I couldn't take payments. I couldn't just sit in the office and work hours because that belongs to a rec assistant's role, rec assistant's job, if that makes sense. But yes, correct. In a perfect scenario, when you hire rec instructors, you typically hire something, a person that specializes in something.
Okay, and if we move forward with this, what are we looking at for this rec instructor? How many hours, how many days a week for this class? What, have you had any thought about that?
No, but when I create that job bulletin, it's going to be
Okay.
from 0 to 20, 30 hours. It just depends, right?
Okay, but the class, specifically
no
the class, how
class.
many days a week? Would it be after school programming or would it just, I mean, or
I-
maybe we could talk more about this in the
yeah,
future.
We definitely could talk more about this in the future, but to be honest with you, the first thing during my interview process is, what is your availability? If you're not available during prime time, that's a struggle. If you're not available on the weekends, because what if somebody works during the week and they want to take a weekend class, right? A computer class. So these are things that I factor in.
Okay, let's,
Yeah.
maybe we can talk more about it offline.
Definitely. But
Okay.
does that make sense in terms of if someone says, oh, I'm only available 2 hours a week, I need somebody that can give me more of their time.
Well, I guess my thing is if we're having a class, if let's just say a computer class and it's only offered once a week and we're getting, it's a 3-month program and we get the 10 students and that instructor can only do 2 hours, I'd rather have somebody that's really good, that's an expert at that, teaching those kids for 2 hours, that after school
Right.
program for 2 hours, instead of somebody who's kind of, you know what I mean? I want to have
No,
a
I understand.
structured- Yeah. Okay.
Yes. No, I
All
totally
right.
get it. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Yeah, so what are the hourly rates?
The rec assistant position, it's 18 something. Like I said, I don't have it off the top of my head. And then for the rec instructor, it's starts at roughly around the same thing, 18 to maybe $23, $24.
Wow. Hmm. Is that the same rate for part-time too as well, or?
These are part-time jobs.
So you're saying that it starts at $18 an hour?
18 something, correct.
Okay.
And not occasion, every so often they do get bumped up, sorry.
You keep saying that it's a union job, so does that mean you have to join the union and be a member of the union to work there, or what's the significance of the fact that it's a union job?
I believe it's more so of managing in terms of making sure that they're getting a fair share in terms of their jobs and their roles, their hours and responsibilities. I really can't really elaborate too much on that.
So do we pay union dues to be a member of the union?
I do. Yeah.
Oh.
So if you become a half-timer and that's if you exceed like so many hours within, I don't know, a year and a half. Now, just a heads up, I don't know these things to a T and I know I'm being recorded, okay? No, I'm just being honest because someone's going to hit play. I'm like, that's not right. Things are always changing. But
Monica, no one
yes.
looks at our YouTube videos. Don't worry about it.
So now I'm like, oh, I have to really be careful.
So if you work
You start off as
hours at $18 an hour, then you have to be a union member and you pay union dues. Is that correct?
I believe so. So after so many, I don't want to say either it's within a time frame and so many hours worked, you have the opportunity of becoming a half-timer. Has anybody heard of that? Becoming a half-timer?
Oh, it's the same
Okay.
thing at the time, you know.
Where
But you
get
could
benefits.
share maybe next month, share where people can reach out to find out more about the
Yes.
what the union and where, so that
Okay.
they can get a handbook, I'm sure, something where they can go on and read it rather
what
than
would,
Sounds good.
trying to figure it out. So
So
Right. Because these are like, oh gosh, I'm being
the union dues are monthly dues or annual dues or?
So I'm a union employee and I do get it deducted per check. So every 2 weeks, I pay.
And Monica is also a full-time employee, so she is actually staff. So her union dues may be different than
Correct.
part-time staff.
Because they are two completely different unions.
You probably could look it up online, Jack, if you want to know more.
Okay, well, there are pros and cons to being a member of the union.
Well, I was a teacher and I was a member of a union, and it actually is the reason why you were able to get better benefits.
Yes,
I'm a strong believer in unions, so there you go.
me too. And that's the reason why I chose to pay,
Yeah, for sure.
because of the experience my mom had when I was a kid, and all the great things and benefits right behind it when she would come across different challenges.
Yes.
And she wasn't a city employee, but it just took that one good experience of a union taking care of your family to take care of her family. That goes a long way.
Yeah,
Well,
health
just
benefits,
tell me, I'm
everything.
okay with the union. I don't have a problem with that. That's not an issue.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on, and thank you, Monica. Anything else you want to update us on? Okay.
No, thank you so much.
So right now, what we'd like to do is have everybody participate a little bit in creation of our goals for the year 2022 to 2023. And Teresa, do you have a copy of what the goals were before?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. That way we can look at and see what might be changed.
Right. Can
And
everybody see this?
yes,
Okay.
so there's a mission statement people are able to see.
So let's talk a little bit about this. I'm not quite sure how old this is. And some of the language I feel we can work on either as a group or we can work on it a little bit tonight, and then I can bring it back. I can make the adjustments and bring it back, and we can do final approval next meeting. Do we agree that the mission statement, and I'll read it out loud just in case anyone is unable to see the screen, represent all the parks inside of and within walking distance to the UNNC boundaries, advocate for park access for all community members. So are we going to represent and work for all of the parks within walking distance? Because I think that's Queen Anne. There may be some other parks that are not actually in the UNNC boundaries. Oh, I'm sorry, Laura, you have your hand up?
Yes, I mean, it's Queen Anne, Normandy Recreation Center, and Lauren Miller Park were the three that we had in mind, because they serve, Lauren Miller is closer to the eastern portion of Jefferson Park than is Leslie Shaw. And Normandy Recreation Center is, at Harvard Heights. I mean, in other words, it's just our boundaries may not be the same arbitrary boundaries as recreation park boundaries.
Okay, so I understand. Thank you, Laura. How do the rest of you guys feel about having this language? Are we going to represent all the parks within walking distance? Do we want to still advocate for those parks also? Donna?
I think they are impacting to us as a community within UNNC, all the communities of UNNC. So to me, it's a good, definitely those that are reachable in walking distance, not having to walk a long, long way to get to, then they're functionally a part of our community. I've agreed that we should.
Okay.
What do
And if
other
that's
people feel?
okay, that's good. They can remain. But if that's the case, should we also invite their park directors to come to our meetings so we can find out what's happening in their parks?
I think park directors would be great to have them come in, and if there's something else going there, then we'll get an opportunity to make it possibly something that can happen for us too. Collaboration, that's an opportunity.
Okay.
We should know the name of all the directors for the other parks.
Okay. So
We list the names of the parks that we're talking about. Shouldn't we list the names of the parks?
you in this mission statement, you'd like to list the names of the parks?
Yeah, there's only 3 of them.
Okay, we can include that.
That way it's clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
No, not, you mean that 3 additional parks,
Yeah,
Jacqueline?
Yes,
Because we already know Benny Potter, Leslie Shaw, and Washington Irving. We're talking about Queen Anne, Lauren Miller, and what's the other one? Vineyard? No, not Vineyard.
Normandy, Queen Anne, and Lauren Miller.
Lauren Miller.
But we also have a 4th park within our boundaries, which is on Cordova and Normandy, or 20th and Normandy. There's
That's
a little
a
pocket.
pocket park?
It might be called the Normandy Park. It has a name, I just don't know what it is.
Okay. If, Laura, if you don't mind putting that in the chat, I'd appreciate it, what you
Sure.
just said, so I can add that. So in this, okay, thanks.
does that bring us to 5 or 6?
It brings us to 7.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so we're
what
gonna
if-
list, go ahead.
So what do we mean by represent all the parks? I mean, what are we gonna do to represent these parks?
Well, advocate, basically make sure that the parks feel that they have, because that's what advocate right there means, that we are offering support to them. And when and if they have issues or concerns, they're like under our umbrella, right? Am I wrong or right?
No, you're right. So we're gonna
Okay.
advocate with RA, but is this part of our, we want this to be part of our actual mission, not just, I mean, our mission can just be 1 or 2 sentences. It doesn't have to list the way we're gonna go about doing that.
No,
can-
no,
Okay,
but I get, that's just an explanation. That doesn't, I agree. We don't need to. We're just saying what the mission is. And
okay,
we don't even have to, at some point, we could list the parks, but just all the parks within walking distance, because it does become larger when we add all that verbiage. We want to keep a simple mission statement.
okay.
No, just the
And
ones
vision.
within walking condition, because most of us don't know who they are, and then, of course, we forget who they are.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so the next sentence, advocate for park access for all community members. I'm not quite sure what they meant when they said that, to advocate for park access. Does that mean, I don't know what that means, so any thoughts on that sentence?
Access to parks is basically a city service. I don't know why neighborhood council would have to take that on. What do they mean by that?
I don't know, but we're here now and we're crafting it. We're doing a draft now,
Yeah.
so let us create it the way we, what we think is the best thing. So.
Does anybody have any thoughts about what park access would mean? Because
Or if we
everyone
should just
already
keep
has
it.
access.
Yeah. Right,
Access for correct use. We don't necessarily want people to sleep in the park. Or,
right. And I'm not sure if it meant like for handicapped
Good
Yeah.
or some kind of access for that community. So, yes, Laura.
Well, obviously, we wrote this pre or just at the beginning of COVID, and may have thought something different, but the language, perhaps what we meant or would want to mean now is essentially advocate for park equity for our stakeholders. Meaning it's not just access, but where's the Quimby funds and where, it's where's the staffing? We have enough programs. So
Yeah,
that
that's
would
the
be
word
kind
I
of
would-
2022 language. I think that's what we were talking about before.
yeah,
Okay.
because equity to me is a good term. Access is already a part of being a citizen of the city of Los Angeles. We don't have to fight the idea that people are allowed to use the parks, all of us. But equity and what is included in the green spaces within our areas compared to others where, like, we already know there's no equity in many parks compared to us have a lot more access to services that we don't get. And unless we fight it, we've had trouble making sure that was part of the program. So equity is a good word to me. What do other people think?
Mhm.
It's fine, but what about making the community aware of some of the programs that are available at the park,
That's a great point, but I don't know if that would fall under our mission. That could possibly fall under our goals.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a good starting point. I'll take these comments and put it in a format that we can continue to look at next meeting and refine as we go along.
Yeah,
So here's the, remember, thank you very much, Laura, for your work on this, but we're in a new day and time and we want to take a look at this with the group that's here now.
I agree, and I wasn't the person who wrote most of this. I was just, as always, for all those months and months and months, Zoom host. So I'm trying to remember what was said, but it was Dorit and Greg. So Greg
Okay.
may remember some of it.
Okay. So I prefer, as we continue committee, that we speak in positive terms. So to start off by saying, although the UNNC is lacking,
I
I'd rather-
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
yeah, I'd rather say we want to continue to expand, or
Yes.
let's reframe it so it's,
Positive. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
so.
I agree.
and give expectations, not what's already happened. We know, everyone knows what hasn't happened, but an expectation is moving forward. You're right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put some keywords down here and come back. The UNNC would like to continue to expand our parks and green urban environments to promote healthy activities, creative experience, and social spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
This sentence, we see a future where parks and green spaces are fully accessible. Well, we already know that. So I'm just going to put a line. I mean, that word accessible, I'm not, I don't know what that
we're
means
not
here.
responsible for that. That's the city's
Yeah.
charter. They have to make accessible. We
Right.
don't have to fight that battle. You're right.
I think
Yeah.
they
Let's do
already
the battles
fought
that
that
are
battle.
ours.
I think they already fought that battle by getting the handicap access at the corners.
Yes, yes.
And, but I have to say, I'm not sure they meant, when they say accessible here, if they're actually mean the literal way for handicap and challenge people to get to the park. I think they mean it in a different context, but either way, I just don't think it's appropriate here. And this vision is very similar to the mission. So maybe we don't need to have a vision. We can just merge the mission statement.
With a vision
Yes.
or name and mission vision,
Yeah. Yeah.
make it more expansive.
Mission
Okay.
/ vision.
Yes, Laura.
Well, I mean, I think what you just said is right. They're overlapping. Maybe it should just be part of the mission. We recognize that UNNC is lacking in parks and green urban environments.
No, we don't want to say that we're lacking. We want to start off by
Okay.
saying we appreciate what we have and we want to
Okay.
continue to expand
Right,
that.
but what I'm
Not the
saying
negative.
is I'm sorry, taking the idea that we could expand, I mean, in other words, the mission or vision is to expand the green spaces in our community was really what we were talking about. Because it was a long discussion over several months.
I'm sorry, Laura, I don't mean to cut you off, but you just said that it was really Greg and Dorit and that you didn't do much. And now, because the conversation appears to be removing some of this language, you are taking ownership. And I don't mind that, but just own it and say, yes, you worked on it and you want to, you want this language in here.
And I'm sorry, I do hear you, but
Okay.
I'm really just looking at this and it's triggering that the idea, I think, could be, if the committee wants, that we want more green spaces. That we have, that we love what we have, but we would like more. And whether that, however you want to phrase it, but I don't know that the vision's any different than the mission. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, so we will have a mission statement. It will include some form of both of these paragraphs merged. And how are you guys with that so far?
Yes, mission, it could just be a mission statement, no vision, and something as simple as 2 or 3 sentences.
I agree.
All right.
Right.
Okay, I will work on that and have
And the
something
goal-
ready.
The goals is where we can really expand.
Right. So On our website, and what the Greg Jackson, the president of the neighborhood council, and the governing board has requested that each committee come forward with some of their specific goals. I don't necessarily think that this needs to be on the website. There's a redesign. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it, but today it's clear there's a redesign. So I'm not sure how these things are all going to fit together. So we don't have to have our goals specifically listed like this. They can be whatever we want them to be. So these are some of the goals they had last time: to serve as advocates for the current 4 parks, but now we know we're going to advocate for all 7 parks, or just our parks.
Well, you know, I think on the website, you just need to put the mission statement. for the
Okay.
website.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. We can do that, but we have to get the goals ready for the governing board anyway. So maybe we can just talk about that. So is one of our goals going to be to continue to advocate? And is it for our 4 parks and historic buildings, or all the parks? Donna?
I think we should, if we're gonna, the 7 parks we're talking about,
All right.
we just offer that up as part of what we're interested in doing. Maybe they don't, we can find out once they participate with us. Right now, we haven't even met the people that are
Okay.
doing things there. But as an
So-
overall goal,
We could say to advocate for our local parks. We don't have to even say
or
what parks they
walking
are.
distance parks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I was thinking local parks. I just didn't know if I should be chiming in since I work at a
Yes,
park.
you are.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
part of
Okay,
it.
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, just keep it local, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do good. Sure.
And that the 2 historic buildings, I believe we're probably talking about the South Seas and the Isidore House. We want to stay with that. And this goal here, preserve and cherish. I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, so we're gonna
You
take that.
Probably take that out.
Yeah. Yes, we're gonna advocate for the pocket parks. But we already have that. We're gonna advocate for our local parks. So I don't know if the pocket parks are continued. Yes, Laura, your
Maybe you
hand.
could put-
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
maybe for new additional pocket parks as opposed to existing.
Okay,
Maybe you
But I don't know where the money's coming from. I'm just saying maybe
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Maybe you could put serve as advocates, comma, preserve, comma, and cherish the parks in that one sentence there, and the 2 historical buildings.
How about new and existing pocket parks?
Oh, okay.
to advocate for well, we already said we're gonna advocate for our current local parks, which includes our pocket parks. Our pocket parks.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, right. So why would we say we have to advocate for and then list our pocket parks? We're going to try to advocate for new pocket parks to find space so we can have additional pocket parks. Or I can put that too, if that's what you guys want. Jacqueline, you still have your hand up, or?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, serve as advocates, comma, preserve, comma, and cherish. You know,
I don't think our goal as a committee should be to cherish our our parks. That's an emotional, we have obligations and responsibilities of work to do to advocate for the expansion, the greening, the maintenance, the care of these parks. But is our responsibility as a committee to cherish them?
I don't know, but I do cherish my parks.
Yes, you do that as a resident, a concerned citizen, but I'm asking, is it the committee's responsibility and goal to cherish the park? And if you guys think it is, then I'll keep it in.
Well, I don't think you should be in Park and Recs if you don't have some kind of emotional attachment to the city parks.
Donna?
Okay,
David?
so we are basically talking about the language of the second bullet, preserve and cherish? Or to reach out and get new pocket parks? Which one? I'm not sure.
Jacqueline would like to keep this statement to preserve and cherish the parks that we already have.
I think it's a good idea to preserve and cherish, but I don't know that it needs to be our end all. Parks are important to us. I get that. I understand the idea of us wanting to make them important to us, but I'm not sure whether that needs to be a goal. It's not to me, a definable goal. What does cherish mean? What do you mean preserve? It's not our job to make parks. Parks are made. We can try to ask for more. I'm not sure what that language means, to be honest. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to care about or want parks. Yeah, well, that's what we're fighting for over on at Benny Potter, to improve the Isidore House, to make improvements in the park. But I'm not sure preserve and cherish parks that we already have. It's like we're thankful that they bother to give us anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whether
What I will do,
have-
I will work on that sentence and bring it back to the committee. I happen to agree with Don on this, but you made a very good point, Jacqueline. So we'll work on it and we'll bring it back to the committee.
Sure.
So we want to advocate for new pocket parks, pop-up parks on unused land, such as parcels owned by developers who are not yet ready to build.
I don't know where there is any. Does anybody?
I don't either. And that's
think-
a big lift. If we're going to really make that one of our goals, we would have to scour the community. We'd have to reach out to developers. We'd have to make sure their land is contaminant free. There are many steps, which I don't mind if it's going to actually be one of our goals, but just to have it in, I don't think, unless we're going to do the work of it, I don't think it should be here.
What are pop-up parks anyway?
Oh,
I'm
Laura,
not sure.
well, Laura, are you still here? Maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, again, things have changed. Now you can't get a permit to demolish until they have project permits, so, but a pop-up park would be like 3 months and you have art show and green space, I mean, it would just be temporary, it'd be pop-up, knowing that it has a future use.
That would be an
But
art.
I don't know that it's a good idea, but that's what comes to my mind.
But that would be an art show, not a park.
I don't even,
You can't pop up a park.
Okay,
I don't even know.
I'm sorry, Jacqueline,
where do we
if
have?
you ask,
One person at a time. Laura, can you just finish answering that?
yeah, I was just saying, we can all brainstorm, we don't need to interrupt each other, and I'm sure I'm the worst at that. But I think a pop-up park, the concept of a pop-up park would be literally just a vacant lot that can have, for 3 months has benches and tents or something. It's not necessarily something I think is a great idea. I'm just saying that would be what I would envision that meant, or would mean going forward.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that's gonna do a pop-up park because you need trees, grass, and etc.
Well, I will do think that parks can be used for different things. So in the normal definition of a park, it is a tree, a grassy lawn, playground equipment, and things like that. But maybe you can have something that you're going to call a park, but is really there for a temporary time for a specific purpose. But either way, I don't think that that's something that we should have as our goal, because there are some really good things we want to try to do this year. And I'm not sure that we have the bandwidth to actually do that. Donna, what do you think?
Pop-up events, they're really pop-up community events is what they really are. If they come in and put in an art show or a display, it's not a park.
Okay, Donna, how do you feel about everything? Donna, are you still there?
I am, and as I was jumping in and saying things. To me, the idea of, I think the second one, it makes no sense to me because we don't have it. So
Okay,
why talk about something? We have no undeveloped land that is available for us to do that with. I'd understand if we had a lot of open spaces that could be changed and made into. We have one on the corner of Sixth Avenue that we had to kick, a developer from storing their machinery. And we were talking about a dog park. So I don't know of anything that's available. And if there were, then we could address and move in that direction. I think we should talk about what's actually something we are seeing rather than what a possibility could be.
okay, then I
That's
will,
my attitude.
yeah, okay, so we're on the same page with that. All right. Distribute green space evenly in the community.
Another thing, same thing.
That's
Okay.
city planning, like,
But who's gonna be distributing this green space?
And what
Jacqueline,
green space?
Jacqueline, let's just remember that these were the old goals, and what we're trying
Yeah.
to do now is to revamp them and move them for this year. So, let's remember that. Okay, so safe and clean park, we want to advocate for safe and clean parks and a recreation center.
We can definitely work on that for everybody,
Sure.
because that's something that's definitely something that we have lost because over the pandemic time, we haven't got some of our equity in that aspect. We're lucky we do have good maintenance staff. We have to say that for both Leslie Shaw and Benny Potter. And we got a brand new staff that is working more often. We actually are getting an extra day from what I hear for maintenance. So that's a good thing.
So
And
can-
the safety, we're working on safety. And now we have a park police officer. So that's a good thing.
So can we put an IE on that and say, no homeless sleeping, and I mean, what we're really talking about, when we say safe and clean? IE such as no homeless sleeping, camping, or whatever. A little description of what we really mean by safe and clean parks.
Well,
No littering or,
you're right, but those are city rules that we can make sure are enforced. That's for sure. We can advocate to enforce what rules there are for protection of our green spaces.
okay.
Because a lot of times people weren't doing it. So we can definitely, that's something we can lend our attention and energy to enforce the current regulations. And there are many.
Yeah, now, what did you say before? You said something down, I wanted to put that in, enforce current regulations and something. Yeah.
Teresa,
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the tape.
because
Listen to the-
I was having a good time and a thoughtful run my mouth moment, and it's totally gone.
That's it.
So-
I'll find that and I'll put that, yes,
Yeah.
because I think that is a good
Enforce
point,
current
Jacqueline.
is an
We're gonna
IE.
we're gonna advocate for, and somehow maybe we can merge a safe and
And
clean parks
equity,
and
I
recreation
said
centers.
something about equity too, but I talk a lot. So you may have to find it.
I'll find it. All right, so here's some other goals that they had listed. And remember, this format's going to change, so we can just keep it. They had get a new director. We have a new director, so I
That's
feel
been
we're
addressed.
right. So we can say additional staff or additional, I
Yeah,
know and see, this is the other thing. This is just a personal thing here. Instead of saying this, not this, don't even say what we don't want. Let's just say what we do want.
what we do want, keep
Right.
it positive, like you
Right.
said.
So
And
we want-
manifesting
they'll follow
it
your
all.
direction.
sorry, who was that?
This is Monica say, we're manifesting it all.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but instead of, like you said, move it forward and talk about what we want, not what happened before. Because we
Right.
know what happened before, not a lot. And what we can, like you said, whatever there's a union rules, but then there are also opportunities to build goals in additional staff.
right.
So the South Seas House and Monica's team is a more complete team. And that's important, like getting the coordinator position, not the assistant director. I think we want a recreation coordinator. That's the terminology, I think, for number 2.
Okay, but do we, are we, I personally, should we advocate for another full-time employee? I mean, is our
Yes.
park sufficient, I mean, large enough where we can have 2 full-time employees?
Yeah, we can build our program
Okay.
only under that basis. She has to have full-time recreation coordinator and additional staff that are able to run the program. We want that computer program back. We want a STEM program to happen at South Seas House, and it won't happen unless we have full-time staff to help run it. And we did have that, but everyone's suffering after the pandemic. So we need to move forward on trying to help that, grow our program and have full goals to have like that computer program back,
Mhm.
and then we have to hire, even if it's an outside instructor that is a computer teacher, /part-time staff. That does work, Monica, right?
Yeah, so if you can please, right next to instructors, put assistants, because they're 2 different positions.
So
So
we need
I'm hiring recreation instructors and recreation assistants.
recreation instructors.
I'm
and-
fine with just staff, but if you guys would like to be more specific, like how you are right
No,
now,
we
then
need
you
to-
want to also put rec assistants, because they're only because
It's a different position.
one can't do everything like the other. There's
Yeah.
as I kind of discussed earlier. So thank you
Right.
for
Yes,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Appreciate
really
it.
would like for us to have instructors. I know
Yeah.
the assistants do the administrative stuff and the
Yes.
instructors are limited. But we really need that expertise. I mean, why is it?
I totally
would I
understand.
have my, children come to a computer class that's taught by, somebody who, is an athletic coach. You know what I mean?
Right.
We need.
No, we're on the same
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
As an
Okay.
instructor, as a previous instructor, we are on the same page. Yes.
And I'll finesse all this, so it may look a little disjointed right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Laura.
Could we dream bigger and have some programming and instruction with Shaw as well?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
Somehow.
you, Laura, that much.
I'm sorry, I said if we could dream a little bigger and at least have a goal of instruction and activities at Leslie Shaw, not just at.
Yeah, I was
Potter.
thinking the same thing. Monica, do they have opportunities for staff to come in with a like a bookmobile where they actually teach and work with kids in a park that doesn't have a facility like Leslie Shaw, where they come and do recreation with kids after school or even on
Yes.
Saturdays?
When we are, yes,
Mobile?
well, when we are funded, and I speak because I remember this from my previous park. So it was the same group where I was part-time. It was LA Kids, where they had like vans, and they would come out with like different projects, activities for the kids.
Yeah.
But that's all funded. So it just depends on what's
What can
available.
be funded for, yes.
Correct. Because I
So
remember
that's
this
like
during
she
our last
said,
part.
dreaming big to be
Yes.
able to fund that for Leslie Shaw.
Okay,
Because I know they, can drive around, even there's no facility. The facility is the van. And
Correct.
they have,
Staff and everything. Yes.
comes out of it and it's there for so many hours. And
Correct.
especially at Leslie Shaw, they have an indoor spot in the library. Because the library partners with the park. So I thought that would be a way to dream big for them.
okay, that sounds good. David?
Do we still need to advocate for the Wi-Fi and the actual computers, or is that not part of the specific?
I think this, that is something that needs to happen, but I think we're at the door, if I'm correct. We may not have to, but we could make it a goal, but we're at the door of receiving, because they have to make the upgrade, but to continue the advocacy for that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And should I be still, I've been trying to rack my head out to get more computers, but I don't know if the city's going to accept that. I mean, perhaps I should approach some production companies and find out if they're getting rid of computers, or is that?
Well, sorry, David, if I could just insert myself just a little bit here. You know, the UNNC funded, we have some funds being
Okay.
held right now for computers. And I talked to Monica, who recommends that we get desktop computers. And what I think we're waiting for, and with $6,000, we may be able to get, you know, a nice computer lab. So I think we're just
Yeah.
really waiting to find out about this internet to make sure it's high speed and it can accommodate the workings of. So I'm less concerned about getting additional computers, more concerned about the instructor who's going to come up with the program. Do we have to get some software that the instructor can use to help, you know, with this program, or what the program is going to look like? I'm kind of more focused on that.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Or Monica, what is your thoughts about that? What are your thoughts?
I feel that we should have everything set in place before I have an instructor.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
the
that
plan,
meaning,
I'm speaking like even from just random conversations, I don't even think I was a city employee at the time, where a teacher walks in and says, what is all this outdated stuff? How can I do my job with all these outdated laptops?
yeah, they can't right now.
So if you have the equipment, the teacher, the instructor, the trainer should be able to do their job, right? Like,
Right.
if you provide me with the tools, I could do my job.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's how I look at it.
okay. And
and we want it funded. We have to figure out where the funding will come to pay for the instructors because we had instructors before, so I'm not sure where the money came from. But the city obviously had a pot of money, and these people came. We had regular instruction every evening at the house.
Nice.
And that's when they opened up. And in fact, the whole South Seas program was based on technology. And it came, you know, it worked. We had people coming, teachers that worked at colleges came in the evening and taught.
Hmm.
So,
Well, you know,
We
you
can
could get a
figure that
major
out.
corporation like McDonald's to donate and build that entire computer center for you. I mean, the McDonald's it's owned by 3 Black women. They have 13 McDonald's. I mean, you can get a McDonald's or some major corporation to donate that entire computer facility, plus pay for an instructor.
And
Yeah.
You have to
Jacqueline,
reach
if
out for
you,
them. I mean, the Boys and Girls Club, McDonald's, and I mean, their whole thing was computer center was donated. So I mean,
Jacqueline, if you want to take the lead on that, we would certainly be right behind you.
oh, okay. I mean, because
David?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, no, your hand was up. I wasn't sure. If it
Oh,
was still up.
sorry, I hadn't
Oh.
come down.
what
So-
we want to do is look for funding. Like David said, he had found a couple of ideas that would fund computers, programs that fund computers for communities of need. And we definitely are in a community that could be considered some kind of upgrade for
You have
our
to-
overall setup. And
you may
I
have
think
to
it's
name
time we
the
look.
computer center after the donor, but I don't see anything wrong with that.
No. Because, you know, you get the funding and then we can smack them in the face. Well, we've got the funding, because you don't seem to remember that that's part of it. So we're moving toward that, but why not? Why not ask? So if there's something available and there are funds for that kind of communities they consider of need, then why not? We're in amongst a large college community, just local, where there are people who would be willing to give time or just make part-time money to come in and do 3 hours so many nights a week. And that's what we had before. We had staff. So
We're right down the street from Trade Tech. I know we could probably get some students with Trade Tech,
as well as teachers, they actually did. We had people.
I meant
They weren't students, they were actual
I meant teachers. I'm sorry. It says students.
yeah,
Teachers, okay.
but part-time, definitely people who volunteer, because students can get credit for volunteering, and that credit helps to erase loans. A lot of people have grants and loans, and when they volunteer in inner city programs, their loans are able to be, reduced and actually get rid of them. So once we have something in place, we can reach out to the schools and say we're looking for volunteers, tutors, teachers.
So what we're doing now are listing goals. So is this going to be a goal for the committee? And if it is, then we have to have leadership to work. It doesn't have to be, someone on the committee will have to, take the mantle and lead us with this. So I will keep it here, but we're listing right now, we're talking about actual goals that we want to try to accomplish in the next year. Okay, so we're going to look for corporate funding for the development of a computer lab, or at least to augment the computer lab we have. Are we in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we all look for ideas, and I'll shake my tree and everybody else shake the trees that they think might, and we come back next month with ideas that even just make a phone call or two and see what there is available, or write and do an email.
Well, I'll
Okay.
go ahead and reach out to Nicole, those women that own those 13 McDonald's.
Yes.
And just get some feedback in terms of if it's something you would be interested in doing. I'll do that.
Okay,
And
that's great.
David already had made a couple phone calls or emailed, didn't you?
Yes,
To
and I'll push that.
yeah. So
Okay.
that would be a possibility. I'll look into the recreational, if Monica, can you also, for Leslie Shaw, how does that program work? If you have anyone you can ask, and I'll also look.
Are you making reference to the van?
Yes.
Okay.
How do we get it? Who do we need to
Okay.
ask? Just even ask a question. I'm going to advocate for high-speed internet upgrades. I'm working on that anyway.
Okay. Just
I
heads up, it's going to take me a couple of calls because I know
Yeah.
another person who was promoting it, or was responsible for it, moved to a different department. But I'll
Okay.
find out if I can get a hold of anybody from LA Kids and if there's a contact.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, no problem.
Laura, it was your idea to think big. Are there any other ideas you had about Leslie Shaw? Is Laura still here?
I see her name.
Oh,
And I reached out to the librarian actually for Leslie Shaw. I did reach out to her, but she didn't respond. But next month I can try to get her to definitely show up, as well as the librarian for Washington Irving. That'll be my assignment.
okay. So
I have
I'll
one
come back.
person.
Okay, I'll come back to Laura on this. So we want to continue our monthly dialogue with area supervisors. And does that I don't know. First of all, let me just say, I don't know if we want to keep this. When we say area supervisors, are we talking about like Elaine? No, Eileen. Do we want to keep that first of all? And if so, are we talking about dialoguing with Eileen and Elaine
Shinnery.
and Shinnery, that
Well,
level of
I've
people?
invited them a couple of times to the meeting, but maybe next month we should give them a definite topic and ask them to come to the meeting.
Okay, so we'll keep that on here as a goal that we want to do to continue to dialogue with them. Okay.
Right.
Prompt repair of any damages at the park and recreation center. So is that a goal that we want to?
It's a need. And I think,
To be care of equipment, you know, we have all that equipment there at the park.
Okay.
Prompt repair of damages equipment at the park.
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Obtain
And we've been
monthly.
working on that. I think it might have improved a little. I've been talking with Monica on that aspect, whether the actual job orders are actually being responded to a little better. Definitely graffiti's getting out of the park faster.
Yes. When Laura comes back, I want to ask her a question. If anybody notices, because I can't see. When you come back, Laura, I have a question for you, Laura. Obtain monthly reports from the SLO and the park ranger. So I'm sure we can get Ortega to come in, Donna. We've had.
Sure,
really-
I think he
okay.
would. We can outreach for him for the next meeting, now that
Okay.
we have a number for him and an email. So we'll put him on our list.
month-
We can find out more from him, what he sees as an issue and what his plans are.
Okay. And I think we should keep restoration of the Isidore House on here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Laura, are you back?
She's muted.
Yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
I didn't hear the question. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I wanted to ask you, when you said to think big on Leslie Shaw, did you have any additional ideas besides the bookmobile?
Well, no, well, yeah, my bigger idea is why can't the division that's in charge of the Benny Potter Park in South Seas also be in charge of Leslie Shaw, so that this notion of sharing activities is a real share with the same director. I mean, is there any
It's two
way?
different areas. I think, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
Monica, is Leslie Shaw in a different in
Yeah,
Pacific?
it is, Donna, but why does it have to be? That's what I'm.
Oh, I'm not.
I mean, if you're asking for a big idea, that's my big idea.
That's
Well,
Transfer it into,
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, just transfer it into our realm, if at all possible. It's, the director is somewhere out of area. I mean, it's
How do I
not like
say-
it's the Lauren Miller Park director who's in charge. It's someone easterly of that.
Could that Isidore House be turned into some kind of museum for CD10?
That's possible, Jacqueline, but we're still talking right now about Leslie Shaw.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
my question to you, Laura, is what difference does it make having the director or having it a part of Benny Potter or not? What do you see are there failures that happen there? Or what would the inclusion,
Well,
how would it benefit?
yeah, my thought is that we have have had a series of pretty active directors who are dreaming up activities here at Benny Potter, here in the Avenues and at South Seas House. So, and we haven't had ever that same experience from, or even knowledge of who is in charge of this other park. So that's my central, the idea of having more of a centralized directorship. But that said, if that's impossible, the kind of activities would be including like yoga classes. I mean, something you can do in a park that doesn't have a big presence, just sort of instead of having, if you have someone who wants to teach a little class, I'm saying yoga to mean anything with light exercise, why can't they teach it there versus at whatever the park is that the director who's in charge here is sitting at? And if someone says, because there's no bathroom, but the library has a bathroom. So it circles back to that partnership with the library. So there is a bathroom that's available. And there's, Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's been a lot of excuses for why there's no activities there at all. And I would like to instead, thinking positive, just advocate for activities to be there. Somebody
Okay.
else can jump in and tell me what other kinds of activities do happen at parks.
Okay, so what, maybe Donna, what we can think about doing is finding out who the director is over that park, or who's Shinnery's counterpart in the area, and invite them in, and to have them talk about some of the possibilities that we can have at Leslie Shaw Park.
I think that's good. We'll try to find out who
Okay.
we need to, who's the oversight person for that particular area. And I think Arian may be able to help us, because I think Leslie Shaw is a part of her area. If that's not true, I will find out. And secondly, I know, let's add the shade sale
Yes,
idea that we needed,
right.
badly need.
I was going to put that down here, but yes, I will.
Yes.
I'll just put park. Okay, so we're going to try to have a monthly dialogue with these area supervisors to bring them in. At first, find out either inviting Lane or Shinnery, but also find out who's in charge of Leslie
Their
Shaw Park.
counterparts are, yes.
Right.
And that'll be my job. I'm taking that on.
Okay. Advocate and request for prompt repair of any damages. We're good. I think we're in a really good place now. I mean, Monica's letting us know. People are doing walkthroughs to look at the bathroom for graffiti and things like that. So we can continue to do that work. Slow. Do we want the slow to come in on monthly meetings, Donna?
I think maybe couldn't we have him possibly come in every other month? I
Okay.
wouldn't ask him for every month, because it's not
Right. So when we
something
talk,
we need every month.
right.
But
So when
is
we
that
say,
okay, everybody?
so when we say the slow park ranger, we're just talking about really Ortega as the park ranger,
Yes,
not to have our
yes.
regular slows in. Okay.
Yeah, Officer Ortega, right.
Okay.
And that way we don't have to beg
Yes.
Crystal.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the restoration of the Isidore House. So, let me just go back to the South Seas House. Donna and I had a conversation with Kimani Black, and when we were discussing some of the repairs that are needed in the South Seas House, we pointed out that the linoleum floors have to be repaired, not with vinyl, but with actual linoleum. And Waha was very familiar with these, the restoration of these historic houses. So he thought maybe there was a possibility that Waha could take on the renovations and the city could provide the funding directly to Waha to do that. So Laura, do you think that's a possibility?
If we're just talking about the linoleum floor, the question would be back at the city. Can they just purchase the linoleum from the company Linoleum City and use one of their contractors? Waha could coordinate that, but it's the real question is that are those two entities allowable vendors?
Well, my question was, is it possible for the city to provide funding to Waha for the upkeep and maintenance of a historic home?
Oh, you mean in a bigger, broader way?
Yes.
Maybe, but I'm not I think it doesn't. I don't think providing funding to a third-party vendor is the way they allow city-owned buildings to be done.
Well,
Waha could
we're
do
thinking
it.
out of the
If your
box.
question is, can Waha do it? Probably, yeah.
Okay, because we're thinking out of the box.
But-
There are many
Yeah.
issues that need to be updated and repaired, not the internet, but other, ongoing repairs for a historic building. And that is a great requirement. I mean, a costly requirement, but it puts on a lot of resources on recreation and park to maintain that. And there's a feeling that because we've asked for so many updates and repairs, necessary updates and repairs, that it may affect their view on moving forward with the Isidore House. So if we are able to relieve RAP from doing that through some funding going to WAHA, then now that burden is no longer on RAP, and then we can possibly move forward with the Isidore House. Donna, is that how you remember that?
I think he truly, like you said, saw a partnership with Waha being the oversight and the funds, since it is a city facility, they put out the funds. Waha oversight has the oversight of the repairs getting done and making sure it's kept up. So I think that was one thing off the plate, that we would have someone who's watching, keeping an eye, and willing to make sure things are done and followed up on. He didn't ask for any funds from, it was money coming from the city to provide the upkeep. So I thought that was pretty much what he said. You were right.
So maybe, Laura, I can follow up with a letter to Kimani and you on behalf of WAHA to have a further discussion on the possibility of some kind of collaboration.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay. And you're with that too, right, Donna?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, okay.
Has somebody surveyed the South Seas house to find out what needs to be done, or?
ongoing.
Yeah, maybe Monica can give us an update on some of the outstanding work orders
Yes.
Oh, great.
next time or this time? Oh, you're at home, so you might not know now.
Yeah, it'll be next time because
Yeah,
we've been tracking everything.
Okay.
that's
So it's
great.
just more of just cross-referencing and making sure that they're done.
Yeah, that's good, because our time is running nigh. And that being able to make sure that she's getting the response and the work orders are, which we had talked about before, Teresa, remember,
Yeah.
making sure the work orders were done in timely manner.
Yeah.
Right.
And Kimani is also going to make sure that the things that we've mentioned and talked about, the internet and the security and the lighting and all that, we have some kind of schedule, and we'll be able to get that soon.
Yes,
So, yeah.
and I did send an email, you were CC'd on it today, Donna, to
Yes.
Daryl Ford. Yes,
Yes.
asking for that. And I know we may be maneuvering a different way, but if his boss does come to him, he'll at least know that this is something that we've been talking about. And,
Exactly.
you know.
And I want to see how fast he responds to.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, we'll see.
that's going to be very interesting for Mr. Ford. We have,
Maybe we can alternate. Oh, wow, my internet is unstable. Sorry, can you guys still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, Donna, what we can do is every other month bring in
a different,
a different librarian.
yes,
Okay.
so that we don't have, it'll keep our time at a small presentation from them, what's going on and what they need and how they can play a part. I can reach out to both of them.
Okay. Advocate for reuse of old Washington Irving Library for community benefit. I don't know what that
Laura
means.
knows all about that.
Yeah. This was, if libraries get incorporated into the community, the old Washington Irving Library at 1803 Arlington is city-owned, abandoned building, historic landmark, abandoned, it's a horrible situation, and the city owns it. And the original council motion said that they would not move into the new library until use was found for the old building about 22 years ago or whenever it was. I mean, it's just awful. And it's covered with graffiti. I mean, it's all those things you might imagine. So on and off, UNNC has tried to take on this project, but it's just too big for us. So I don't know if it works in this committee's goals, but
Yeah.
it should UNNC's goals.
It needs to fall in, yeah, because it definitely is something, but it's not something we can take on. I think we should probably remove that. Because that's a big
Yeah,
wish.
it went from being a reasonable, somebody could do something with the building to a multi-million-dollar task.
Yes.
Having been abandoned all these years.
And it's
Yes.
currently owned by the city and they have
It's
no
owned-
plans for it at all?
Correct.
Many plans can fall apart and through over the years.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, well.
Well, it has a single parking space, so that's always been what kind of use can you put in there with one parking space? That's why the librarians wanted to move in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the reasons.
Beautiful old building though, Teresa, you would have loved it.
Okay.
Gorgeous building.
Yeah.
So I took, as you asked on, I
Yeah.
took that off, yeah. And-
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, every time I drive by, it's another like salt in the big one that's bigger and bigger. It's horrible. Okay.
Yeah.
improve walkways such as with landscaping, art, and other attractions to encourage walking. I don't know. I mean, this could be part of some infrastructure upgrades. We remember, Donna, we had talked about phase 1 and then phase 2 with
Yeah.
the lighting and security cameras. The phase 2 section, the actual park, there is some root intrusion, root uprooting from that large ficus.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I don't know if that needs to be one of our goals. I think
No,
it just,
it's
know,
something we can try to pitch to somebody else.
yeah, to have that worked on. Increase activities in all parks, pocket parks, recreation within walking distance. Okay, I think,
That
So-
art installation was one of the things that we actually were lucky enough to receive, and I wanted to build upon. So hopefully we can, because having the art and other opportunities for things yearly in the parks, like different schools that actually would offer opportunities for them to come in and teach and bring something into the park for kids, like we did last Saturday, where a school brings in art for so many weeks and kids come there and from all the parks to participate. That's something we can look forward to at some point, but I think it's an idea.
yeah. And I really liked having that art installation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, and thank you again, David, for removing
Yeah.
that graffiti so expertly and painstakingly. That was.
And it made such a, once we got rid of the insanity, but David, that was a lot of work. But anyway, it meant a lot to us.
Mhm.
It was special.
So we have community gardens here, and I know Monica mentioned this earlier. I'm not quite sure how to, if we're going to do a community garden, we're going to have garden classes. There's a lot of prep work we have to do to that. We have to build, it needs to probably be in raised beds. We need to get funding for soil. We need to make sure there's adequate light. The kids won't be able to play in that area with any balls or anything because it may damage some of the plants. I mean, I feel like I'd rather us put our energy into really trying to get this Isidore house up and running, and through the creation and planning of that, try to put the raised beds in with that. I don't know. What do you think? Anybody? Is Jacqueline still here? I haven't heard from her in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I was just saying, why can't we turn that into a museum for CD10 or something?
Oh, the Isidore house?
Yeah,
Donna, I think that we've discussed having it as event space.
Yeah, if we can get the restoration to be able to turn the inside in to opportunities for all the things that might be event space, meeting space, and teaching space, would make a big deal, that it really would come back to the community in a positive way. A part of it even having art, museum pieces, anything in there, it could definitely make that a house standout in the community, because we don't have that. So
Who owns that house? Is it owned by
the city owns it,
Oh, the city owns it.
and they're a slumlord.
I really enjoyed the meetings that we used to have at where we
Is
went
it
through
at
the history
South
of the-
Seas?
South Seas.
Yeah, and I think even having that sort of like the old pictures up on the wall or something. that would-
Yes, would make it real special.
Just even
And-
knowing the history of the place, you know, like all the famous people that lived here and
And the
Yeah.
area, we
Yeah.
can have their pictures coming out of USC that can be accommodated to hang in that building, and over the quarterly, things could change.
yeah,
Like Jacqueline saying, art pieces, it could become like a museum of the communities of the 10,
Exactly.
because there could be things could be changed. And
Yeah.
have a curator or someone who takes care of that. So a lot of things can happen as soon as, and if we can get twist arms to get it done.
and going back to
It could be
the
a
garden,
combination.
sorry.
It could be a combination location for meetings and the museum and open to the public, you know, and so forth. It could be a combination location, not just serve one purpose, you know?
Yeah,
And going back to the garden, I think we should wait until the house has been restored because they're going to store stuff there and demolish the garden.
and that would be, hopefully if they'll demolish and start doing something, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
Are you
So we're
talking about the
working on
garden there
that.
On the corner?
I didn't hear you, Jacqueline.
Are you talking about the garden there on the corner?
No, we were
Oh, no,
actually,
no, we
Oh,
were
okay.
talking about in the yard of Isidore.
Is it, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
okay,
Well,
Donna,
This
I
has
will,
been fabulous, everybody, and thank you for giving the time. This is definitely, hopefully everybody bring one person with you next month. And this is a lot that was done tonight. And thank you, Teresa, for taking
Thank
it
you,
on.
Lisa.
oh, no, I'm helping Donna as she moves into her role as chairperson.
Yeah, we're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We do
we're
have
starting-
a couple of other little things on the agenda, just very quickly. One is any old business. I don't know if there's any old business.
I think we've talked about,
Yeah, and follow up to any other items. I don't think there are, but I just wanted to mention it.
to go through them.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. We'll definitely be back next month, and we'll try to drag a few other people who might be interested in trying to make some, offer some changes to make this, all the parks that are around us, important. Anybody have a hand up? And everybody other outside of that, thank you so much, everyone. Who's on the caller?